Dear faithful communicators, faith requires communication, and communication requires faith. To go back to creation, we are all, each one of us, called to be caretakers of God's world. God creates the world, turns it over to Adam and Eve and says, care for it, develop it, enjoy it, be caretakers, or if you will, be cultivators. Don't just let it sit there, but care for it and develop it to its fullest, its riches. And human communication is one of the ways that we do this. It's a gift that God gives us to be caretakers of His world in the beginning. And one of our great uniquenesses as human beings is that we are caretakers. Another way to put that is that we're responsible to God first, to others, and to ourselves. But this responsibility to God, or accountability, is critical. So the gift of communication equips us to be cultivators of God's world and to do it responsibly in relationship with God. This is our primary calling. Our primary calling is not our work, our job, our paid employment, but it's to be stewards or caretakers of God's world. And then we carry out this caretaking in all the different stations of our lives. So we have our vocation, our primary calling, and then we have the different stations, the places that God puts us, the relationships that God puts us in, the different jobs that we have, some paid, some non-paid. All of these are stations, and our lives are full of stations. And we're called to translate our calling to follow Jesus Christ into the various stations of our lives. And communication helps us to do this. We're stewards of language, the gift of language. We're stewards of the relationships that we develop through language. We're stewardships of understanding, because ultimately all communication involves shared understanding. And we're stewards of action, because communication is action. You know the old saying that you learn when you're a kid, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. But words can really hurt. In fact, words, spoken, typed, text, recorded, all of them are actions. Adam in the beginning, represented as the first human being, Adam, meaning humankind, was called to name. So the first act of the first human being that we have in Scripture is to name. And Adam named all of the creatures, and he did it with delight, first of all, with delight. In fact, we can say that all human communication involves some delight. Can you imagine him just standing there, perhaps, with the creatures coming by and him seeing them maybe for the first time, like going to a zoo? Tremendous delight. Also, creativity. Whatever Adam called them, that's what they would be called. Creativity, freedom in doing it. But finally, with responsibility. Adam had to do it before the face of God. Kind of like God looking over his shoulder, and he knows he's accountable to God. Well, we are all, if you will, stewards of the Word, and like Adam, working with delight and with creativity, but also with responsibility to God. And we are called to do this, first of all, with excellence, okay? To be skilled at it, to be very skilled, to, as good as we can be. And then also with compassion, to do it from the heart, to care for other people. So our caretaking has these two dimensions to it. As we're stewards of language, we learn to use language in all of its different manifestations for excellence, to care for others, but also with compassion, to care about them from the heart. And we can work with excellence and compassion in this gift of communication with three loves that God offers to us. One is to love God above all. Second is to love our neighbor, but also to love our neighbor as ourselves, to love God, our neighbor, and ourselves. And these three relationships all depend on communication. So you see, faith requires communication. Communication requires faith. We're called to be stewards with excellence and compassion in all of our communication, echoing, in a sense, what Adam did originally. Shalom.